Hi everybody, it's Donna the Astronomer here, and I just want to talk to you about what's up in the sky this August. Okay, what's really incredible is this month we still have incredible views of the Milky Way as we had last month, and looking up after sunset, particularly tonight is the night after the full moon. For the first about 50 minutes of the night you have a bit of darkness and you'll be able to see it. Then of course the moon will rise, and each night from now on it's going to get a little bit more darker each night, and that's wonderful for looking at the skies, because not only do we have wonderful views of the Milky Way, but we also can get views down low on the south of the Small and Large Magellanic Cloud, two little galaxies that are orbiting our galaxy. So it's very easy now. If you go outside about 6:30, look overhead, you'll see the Scorpion, and you're almost looking in towards the centre of our galaxy between the Scorpion and the Sagittarius, which looks more like a teapot than an archer at the beginning of the night. Okay, and looking to the east, you cannot miss Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter is the super bright one, and Saturn is down below it, and they're at the moment in Capricorn. They're very, very easily seen with your naked eye, and if you then move across to the south, you will see the Southern Cross and the two pointer stars. Now they're very interesting at the moment. They're a little bit higher, but right down towards the horizon there's a second cross, and this cross is called Vela. I'm just going to switch into a program and share with you my screen here and go to Stellarium here, which is a really cool free program that you can get. And this is looking south at about 7 o'clock tonight. And there's Saturn and there's Jupiter. You can see down here the Alpha Capricornus, which is a little bit of a meteor shower. So there's been a number of meteors that have been visible in the south, the southeast, towards the southwest, and they're quite nice. So we're just going to move the program around. So we're going to move around. So we're a bit more to the southeast, and here we are in the south. And you can see there's the Milky Way going through there at the moment. And here, of course, are the two pointer stars and the Southern Cross. They're up there, and down here towards the bottom, you've got another cross. This cross is Vela. This cross in the Northern Hemisphere is known as the false cross because people mistake it for being our Southern Cross. But we can always tell our Southern Cross because it always has the two pointer stars following it. So the Southern Cross looks a bit like a kite. Up in some of the stories from the north part of Australia, it's a stingray, and these are the two sharks that are following it. Now, I always like to think of them as crazy sharks because they spend their whole night time chasing it round and round the sky, which is sort of pretty crazy when you think about it. Okay, so that's what the sky looks like in the south. So we're going to move around here a little bit further around. We're heading towards the west. And here we have Corvus the Crow, which looks a little bit more like a shopping trolley. Up there, it's Corvus the Crow, and it's, of course, keeping guard over the Southern Cross. Then moving a little bit further around, we have Leo setting, because as we all know from this weird news that we've all talked about for years, come out in the last couple of weeks from NASA about the 13th sign and how our astrological sun signs are all a little bit out. But I'm not going to go there except to say that the sun currently is in Cancer, not quite in Leo, although by the time it's my birthday later this month, it will be. Then coming on, we've got a beautiful, nice orangey yellow star, reasonably high up in the northwest. That's Arcturus in the constellation of Bootes. Got beautiful bright Vega down here on the horizon. Now we're coming around more to the northeast, where we can see Jupiter and Saturn again. We've got this lovely little group of three stars. The really, really bright one in the middle is Altair. Its name means the lonely one in Arabic. It's also the eye of Aquila the eagle. And we have Jupiter and Saturn there, which are really quite incredible. So as I was saying, coming up above Jupiter, you have Sagittarius, which looks a little bit more like a teapot. And that's about the centre of our galaxy, about here. And then we come to the Scorpion. And for those of you who've seen the movie Moana, what you can see here is you can see Maui's Hook, which is pretty incredible. Great time to get out with binoculars when the Milky Way's out. Look at anything fuzzy. Anything fuzzy is always interesting. It could be a nebula, it could be a cluster. You can even, if you're really lucky, see some of the little globular clusters, which are quite spectacular. Particularly without the moon, it's really, really nice. And some of them you can see in a good view. Small telescope or a good pair of binoculars, you can see Jupiter's moons. A bit hard to see the rings of Saturn without a small telescope, but certainly with that. And if you're really, really confused You can get stellarium, which doesn't actually show in point, but shows you what's in the sky so you can think about when you go out. It'll show you also what the sky looked like 10,000 years ago or 10,000 years in the future, if you're so inclined. But there are plenty of apps that you can get on your phone. I have a number on mine, but find the one that suits you best. There are a number of free ones, depending on whether you have Apple or Android. Just find them, hold them up, make sure you've got your location services on first. That's a good clue. Hold them up and then just have a go at it. Okay, so the really cool thing is I'm back here with my Southern Cross. I want to get back over to where the Southern Cross is, which is here. We'll come a bit further around here and see if we can find those clouds of Magellan, if they're going to show up on this picture here. Okay, we're popping down a little bit in the sky here, and yeah, it doesn't look like they're very easy to see on here, but they're pretty easy to see, like two little white clouds with your naked eye, and they're pretty much over here opposite the cross. They form a rectangle with the Southern Cross. Okay, so these are those two clouds of Magellan are galaxies orbiting our galaxy. They were first seen by the explorer Magellan when he went around the Cape Horn back in the 1500s on his ill-fated voyage. And that's what happens if you're not too careful with stellarium. You can really make it go crazy on your screen, which is what I've just done. So we'll go back over here again. Okay, so plenty of things to see and do. Okay, the full moon occurred last night. That was all right. And at midnight on the 9th, the moon's at apogee. So you have apogee and perigee, like closest and furthest away. And at apogee, it's the furthest away from the Earth. And that's when it's at a distance of 404,659 kilometres. Yeah, a total figure that you probably have no absolute interest at all, but that's just when it is the furthest away from us. And so, and if the media are getting onto the bandwagon, it's a mini moon as opposed to a supermoon. So let's think about the planets. If we're going to go to the morning sky, you've got Mercury, Venus. Mars comes up about 10:30. So in the morning, you'll just be able to see Jupiter before it sets in the west, Saturn above it, Mars overhead, Venus super, super bright as the morning star, and Mercury very low. Now, Mercury at the moment is in what we call superior conjunction, which means we're on opposite sides of the sun. So it's the furthest away from us at the moment, and that occurs on the 18th. And from then, Mercury will start from being a morning to an evening star. So it's going to, over the period of time, move to being in the evening sky. It's going to be very, very close to the horizon, both in the morning and the evening, which makes it difficult to see unless you've got a really good horizon. And the best we're going to probably be able to see it'll be from about mid-September to mid-October, once it's sort of starting to rise a little bit, because both Jupiter and Mercury, Venus and Mercury never ride too far above the horizon because they're between us and the sun, whereas the other planets are on the other side of the sun, on the other side to us. And so they tend to move across the sky, and we tend to be able to see them a lot better. So Venus is leaving Taurus. It's in Taurus at the moment. It's going to make its way up into Orion, which is in the morning sky at the moment. Orion, better known to most of us down here as the saucepan or the pot. It's in the morning sky, and we're going to see Venus popping up into there. We see him a bit upside down, so he's going to be in the club, which is the lower part of Orion at the moment. And then later it'll head off to Gemini. But you can't miss Venus at the moment. It looks very spectacular. If you can look at it through binoculars or a small telescope, it doesn't look like a full ball. It has phases. Mercury, Venus, and the moon all have phases because when they're between us and the sun. And the brighter they are, the less of the planet you can actually see, which makes it very, very interesting. And there's going to be on the 16th of the month, if you're up nice and early in the morning, there'll be a nice photographic opportunity with the very thin waning crescent moon. Will be sitting directly underneath Venus. So it'll look kind of like a really pretty necklace sort of thing. So even though Venus is surrounded by bright stars, you're not going to miss it. It outshines everything. Okay, let's talk about Mars. Mars has been in the news a lot, and come February next year, it's going to be in the news a lot again because all the spacecraft are going to get there. There have been 3 missions take off, one from the UAE called HOPE. There's been a Chinese mission that has a rover on board, and of course Perseverance, the NASA mission, which has, I think it's Integrity, or Ingenuity, it's a little robot helicopter, which I'm so looking forward to see how that works when it gets to Mars. So they're all due to arrive in Mars in February. They all had to take off this month because Mars is almost at its closest to us that it gets in this cycle. It's not as close as it was in 2003. but it's reasonably close. So it takes 6 to 7 months to get there. So we'll stand by for next month. At the moment, Mars is at perihelion on the 3rd, which was a couple of days ago, and that means when it's closest to the sun, and when Earth, Mars and everything line up this time, we have a particularly good view. It's not as good as it has been in the past, but anyone who can capture a photograph, any of you budding astrophotographers, get some images of it, and you can actually, by the time the Earth catches up to it in October, we'll be able to see a lot more of its details. It's going to be quite bright. It rises at the moment about 10 o'clock, and on the 9th, if it's not raining where you are, there's going to be a lovely gibbous waning moon. So lovely moon is going to be very close to the planet and look quite spectacular. Okay, Jupiter. Jupiter, Jupiter, Jupiter. Can't miss it. It's right there in the evening sky and looks really, really spectacular. Jupiter's really, really interesting. It's just paced opposition, and mid last month and in mid-July, which was mid-July, I should say, which means it's the time it's closest to us, and it's going to be close to the moon during the month. Okay, let's see. You can, if you've got a small telescope, you can watch the Galilean moons turning around. You can see the north and south, the little dark north and south equatorial belts, which look quite spectacular at the same time. Jupiter also has a 10-hour rotation period, which is why we can't see the red spot most of the time. Saturn's also just past opposition. It's in the early evening sky, and at the moment it's really, really good to look at in a telescope. We've actually been able to see the rings quite clearly, and also the shadow of the rings on the planet, which is kind of nice to see. And as it progresses, it's going to be much more interesting. If you're looking for the planet Uranus, it's in Aries at the moment, and it rises about 11:30, so it's a bit hard to see early in the night. And about the 16th, it's going to sort of do its stationary thing. Because of the way they take longer to go around the sun than we do, it then starts to appear to move backwards across the sky. We call that retrograde. Neptune is also coming into opposition early this month. It's in Aquarius. It rises not too much after astronomical twilight, but a bit hard to find unless you've got a nice dark sky. And Pluto's also just past opposition and is transiting the meridian about 10 o'clock mid-month. I've had a look at it a couple of times. Definitely all three of those are difficult to find with certainly Uranus and Neptune can be found in a good pair of binoculars if you know where to look, and that's where your apps will help you find them. Pluto is difficult to find without a telescope, and you really do need to look at Jupiter over a few nights to actually get the drift of it. So, but if you want to have a go, have a go. It's always a lot of fun. So that's pretty much what's in the sky this month. Bit of meteor showers here and there. Always good to go out and have a look. You've got your satellites, plenty to see and do. Have clear skies, look up and just enjoy. This is Donna the Astronomer signing off and hoping you have a really good time. Thank you very much for listening. Please feel free to follow me on my blog, donnatheastronomer.com.au. And please like, comment, tell me what you'd like to hear about on these upcoming videos. I've got some upcoming about some more women in astronomy and some different bits and pieces. So please feel free to like it, comment it, tell me what you think, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Thank you very, very much. Have a good one. Bye.